Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm gonna talk about gameplay update 7.13. Didn't load into a lobby because there are no hero changes or anything like that. It's just a bunch of numbers. But we're gonna talk about what kind of impact that's gonna have on the game, what it means, and then kind of what I think about it and all of that. You know how it goes, right? So, first of all, Aegis now has an old tooltip that explains how to pronounce that item. That's kind of funny. By the way, the way you pronounce it apparently is like this. Aegis. So, yay! Aegis. That's exactly what I thought how you pronounce it. But now we have official confirmation. So that's good. Right? Anyway. The changes were pretty straightforward up here. So tier 1 tower team bounty reduced, tier 2 tower team bounty reduced, tier 3 tower team bounty reduced, tier 4 bounty, you get the idea. Range barracks team bounty reduced, and filler buildings gold bounty from 125 to 75. I don't know why this one doesn't say reduced, right? Like, it's clearly reduced. It just doesn't have the word reduced in there, like any of the other before them. I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm the only person that is bothered by this, but it bothers me, and I just wanted to bring it up. I also want to bring up at this point that Tower Team Bounty, the B is written big here, and then Barracks Team Bounty, all of this is written small. Like, this is all capitalized, and this is not. Why? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I know that's super nitpicky, but why? Why? Please. Anyway, so what does this mean? Well, there's actually a pretty substantial loss of gold, right? If we just do the math on this really quick, you've got 20 less there, 80 less there, so with 100 less, 60 less there, and now 40 less there, so 200 total gold less. Now, usually you wouldn't get this, right? Like this right here, the tier 4, it doesn't die that often before you actually finish the game. So we can kind of exclude the tier 4, but even then, it's still 160 gold less to the entire team. That's a pretty significant chunk. Right, like that's pretty significant, especially if you include this right here, then now 50 less. So it's basically one tower less to your entire team. And that is per lane, right? You gotta keep that in mind. As you kill more towers, that adds up more and more and more. The really big number is this one right here, the tier 2 tower team bounty, right? That means 80 gold less for each tier 2 tower. And usually, before you go and push a barracks, you kill all of the tier 2s, right? So you're now missing, as a collective, your entire team, you're missing 240 gold that you would, or like 240 gold each, that you would usually have. That is pretty significant. That's just a lot of money. It's especially a lot of money for the supports. And that's actually something that I think is a big part of this patch. That, like, the supports, they're just going to have a harder life. If you take away money like this, you know, you take away tower bounties, you take away passive GPM, those kind of factors, they are really beneficial to supports. They're less beneficial to carries because carries just hit creeps, but supports don't. So they need their money from more passive sources. They can't really get them from active sources, right? So hero assist gold is also a big one, right? And this is going to make supports a lot weaker. Personally, I don't like that. I think the supports should be more powerful. I think it's one of the big flaws in the MOBA genre that... by the way, I just got a text telling me that my suit is going to be delivered soon. Feels good, man. But it's one of the big flaws I find in MOBA genre, that often the supports are so incredibly weak. I'm not saying that supports shouldn't be weaker than the carries, right? Like, I just think that the gap is often too big. And I like that Dota made efforts to close the gap a little bit, but now they're widening it again. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Range creep average gold bounty reduced. Yeah, this is just like, I imagine it's not that significant. Like, I mean, how many range creeps do you kill in a game? Maybe 10, right? So you have 30 less gold. Yeah, big deal. Glyph duration increased from 5 to 6. That is actually pretty significant. From 5 to 6 means you block the entire Meteor Hammer guaranteed now, right? Like 100% guaranteed, pretty much. And it's just additional duration, right? It's just melee barracks HP increased, shrines HP increased. Shrines now have 5 HP region. The idea is that it's all about making pushing more difficult, right? You get less reward for pushing. you have a harder time pushing. I just played a game where we were pushing, right, and we were killing the barracks, and it really felt more difficult to kill the barracks. And this is a significant amount. This is 20% additional HP, right? 1500 to 1800 doesn't sound like a lot because like they're both pretty low numbers, but that's 20% additional HP. That's a lot, right? And with the shrines, it's a little less. It's not 20% there, but it's close. All right, it's close. And then you've got the 5 HP region, which is very significant, actually. And then you've got rescaled level 12 to level 25 respawn time curve, which means that you now respawn quicker early on, and you respawn, well, the same speed later on, but, you know, like, yeah, you just respawn quicker. The reason why this matters is that this really helps. And by the way, if you look at it, actually, let's look at the exact numbers here really quick, right? So you can see that we've got 48 and 44. 44 is the new number. That's the starting. That's level 12, right? So that's quicker than 48 by 4 seconds. And then you've got 46 and 52, which is quicker by 6 seconds. Then 54 and 48, quicker by 6 seconds. 56, 50, quicker by 6 seconds. Then 6 seconds again, 6 seconds again. Then 54, 65, 70, the gap closes a bit. 74, 70, gap closes again. 70, 76 to 75, gap almost non-existent, and now actually it's slower. 80 to 78, 85 to 82, 90 to 86, 95 to 90, and then 100 and 100. That is the same. So you respawn slower later on, and you respawn faster early on. These are pretty small numbers, but you know, you got to keep in mind that those incremental small changes, they can help you push into a certain direction. And what this change does is it makes it so that the team that is ahead has a harder time ending the game. That is what all of these changes are. They have a harder time ending the game. Because, you know, like the enemies respawn quicker, you respawn slower, makes pushing more difficult. You know, if you lose somebody, it's a bigger punishment and all of that. Why? Let's go ahead and ask that question, right? So why are these changes happening? Well, recently in competitive Dota, it's been all about the laning stage. The laning stage is the most important thing. And if you lost the laning stage, oftentimes people were saying, well, the game is just over. You lost the game because you lost the laning stage. Why is that? Because you were able to utilize that early advantage into a strong push, and then that strong push you just finished the game with. That's less likely to happen now, right? They didn't really nerf the laning stage directly, only in a very minor fashion, but they nerfed pushing, they nerfed snowballing, right? You just get less money for being ahead, you get less of an advantage for being ahead. And I generally think that's a good idea. I like that. I do not like the way they did it. I think a better way to do it maybe would be to give more passive gold, right? Instead of doing this right here, why don't you just give everybody more passive gold? Increase it. Increase it from 100 passive gold to 120. It's going to make it so that even when you're behind, you'll still have some money, right? Like, I feel like that would be a way to do it. This right here, I don't think is terrible. I just think it's a bit drastic at certain points. You know, I feel like you could have lowered this right here maybe to 160 and this to 180 and kept this at 200, right? But that's just what I'm thinking, right? Sure. Removed hero class specific perks. The bonuses now affect all classes. Well, this is kind of weirdly written because there are no hero classes. Can I just say that really quick? You know, the bonuses now affect all classes. Well, that's really convenient because there are no classes. That's not a thing. Okay, but that's fine. We know what they mean. You know, they mean strength, agility, and intelligence. Never, ever, ever has that been described as a class, but sure. But removed status resistance as a strength-based attribute bonus, rebalance strength, intelligence, and agility bonuses below. And then primary attribute now provides 25% more benefit to the bonuses it provides. So basically what this means is previously agility gave agility heroes movement speed, strength gave strength heroes status resistance, and intelligence gave intelligence heroes magic resistance. This is no longer the case. Instead, those attributes now apply to everybody, which means that agility just always gives movement speed. Strength now doesn't give status resistance anymore. Instead, it gives magic resistance. And Intelligence now gives Spell Amp like it did before, right? It kind of lost its additional property, which does actually kind of make a little bit of sense, right? Like, if you look at this, right, you've got Strength, 3 things, Intelligence, 3 things, Agility, 3 things. Well, previously 3, 4, 3, which is kind of a little bit silly. So I kind of see where they're going with that, right? But now if you're a Strength hero, you just get more strength, right? Like, not more strength, but like more of a benefit from having strength. So while usually you would get 18 health from strength, which is less than you would previously get if you were, just a regular hero, you would get 20 health. Now you get 18 health if you're an agility or an intelligence hero, and you get 22.5 health if you're a strength hero. And this kind of goes all the way through. Strength heroes now get magic resistance. 0.1% for each point of strength. So how much strength can you expect to have in the game? It's not too unreasonable to assume that heroes can get like 120 or something like that, right? Which in this case would be 12% magic resistance, right? I know that isn't a lot, and really isn't, right? It's really not that much, but it does make strength heroes more difficult to kill. I actually have some numbers on this. I'm just pulling this from Reddit, by the way. I'm not gonna take credit for this. But so Tiny, the hero with the highest base strength, now starts the game with 75 more HP, right? Because strength heroes now get more value from being strength, right? They get more HP from strength than other heroes. Ricky, the hero with the highest base agility, now starts the game with 7.5 more attack speed. Lena and Tinker, the heroes with the highest base intelligence, start the game with 90 more mana and 7.5% more mana regen. So the really significant number there, I think, is actually 90 mana. 75 HP is really nice, don't get me wrong, but 90 mana is sick. That's a lot of mana, especially for Lena and Tinker, like that's another spell cast. That's a lot of mana. That's pretty significant. Right, so you have, of course, another side of the spectrum. For example, Jakiro, the non-strength hero with the highest base strength, starts with 50 less HP, right? Because while he has a lot of strength, he's not a strength hero, so he gets less of a benefit, and he loses some HP. OD, the non-agility hero with the highest base agility, starts with 0.24 less armor, and Undying, the non-intelligence hero with the highest base intelligence, starts with 5.4% less mana regen. And it kind of goes on like this. Right, so for example, Morphing at level 25 ends the game with 3.4 more armor, 28.2 more attack speed, and 1.35% more movement speed as opposed to before. Saintor now gets 316 more HP, 12.6% more magic resistance, and loses 3.8% HP regen. So HP regen just has been nerfed across the board. And then Pugna, the intelligence hero of the highest int at level 25, ends the game with 402 more mana. That's crazy. But Pugna has 4.5 intelligence gain. It's absurd. And then 2.3% more spell amp and 33.5% more mana regen. So you kind of get the idea. I have no strong feelings on this. I think this is fine. Right? Like, this is a cute little change if they want to make it. It's gonna make strength heroes very powerful, I think. Like, especially like Sven. Like with Sven, your ultimate now gives you a pretty significant amount of magic resistance. I guess not that significant. I don't know, it's 4%. Is 4% significant? I can see 4% mattering, especially since, he gets a lot of HP now from the ultimate as well, right? He got 22.5 per points of, he got 40 points of strength. I don't know. Right? It's kind of something we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out. I actually want to talk about something else really quick. Status resistance being removed. I don't like that. Now, here's the thing. Here's something that I think Dota does wrong. I really wish they paid more attention to this. And this is the keyword abuse. Right? Like, card games tend to be very cognizant of like what kind of keywords they put into the game. And when a keyword isn't needed, they'll just not add it in. Right? It's just not necessary. Status resistance was added into the game, and status resistance was a fine thing. I didn't mind it, right? Turns out they didn't like it, and then they ended up removing it, and I think that's fine too. Actually, I have no problem with status resistance whatsoever. I don't even have a problem with Tiny and Aeon Disc being the only things that have status resistance. What I don't really like too much is that now we have this new keyword. We have status resistance, right? That's not explained anywhere in the game, that only 2 things in the entire game are affected by. And it will just be left in the game to rot and confuse new players. And this is just something that's just... I feel like this is something that Dota does a lot, where they make a bunch of changes, and then they go back on those changes. But then there's like a thing or 2 things that are left behind that are just, hey, you know, like whatever, just forget about them. And sometimes these can have a real big impact on the metagame. For example, Battle Fury. Battle Fury was changed to include the Quelling Blade back when Quelling Blade still gave percentage-based damage increase against creeps. Then they changed that. Quelling Blade now just gives a flat amount, but for some reason Battle Fury kept that old property. Because they didn't bother to go back and check everything and change it accordingly. Which I think is what they should do, right? Like if you change the Quelling Blade and change the Battle Fury accordingly. Because clearly that mechanic didn't work there and that mechanic didn't work afterwards, and now Battle Fury is a problem. Like Battle Fury is just really, really powerful. Now I don't know if they want it to be that powerful, right? Maybe that is what they want, but I personally think Battle Fury is a little bit obnoxious. Like, since it's so strong, you know, you've got unique attack modifiers. That was a thing. Eventually, the only purpose unique attack modifiers served was to make it so that Anti-Mage couldn't buy lifesteal, which is just ridiculous, right? Like, why is there a keyword in the game that only exists so that Anti-Mage can't buy lifesteal? Just get rid of it, which they then eventually did, but it just took a really long time. And those kind of things, they bother me. I just think they're really kind of lazy handling of the game, you know, like, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking that a bit, but that's just the part that bothers me a little bit. And like, look, eventually, here's what I'm gonna like. Eventually, like, Tiny is gonna lose his ultimate, right? And then there's gonna be a single thing in the game that has status resistance, and it's never described anywhere what status resistance actually does. And because it's not a universal keyword that affects everybody, it's just not that significant. I don't know. It's just something that bothers me. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to leave a rating on the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.